All right, officially, we are going to kick this thing off. So, good evening, East Mountain residents. Always an honor and a privilege to be up in your neck of the woods. Tonight, we are going to be discussing fire safety, and as we are all extremely concerned about what this year's dry conditions are bringing and what that means for you all as residents and for us as the men and women who proudly serve the East Mountains as your fire department. We also have our Sheriff's Department who's here with us, as well as our emergency management. So you're in really good hands tonight. We also have a special guest this evening. P&M is going to be here as well to talk a little bit more in depth about the possibilities of power shutoff. So it should be a good, hour and a half spent of dialogue amongst good people. So with that, I do want to apologize on behalf of our county manager, Cindy Chavez, who could not be here tonight. She's leaving town this evening, actually, so she's probably on a plane as we speak, but she did want to be here and sends her regrets that she could not be here. I would like to turn it over briefly to Augustine, who's going to say a few words on behalf of our East Mountain Commissioner and actually Commission Chair. So Augustine, if you want to come on up.
Well, good evening, everybody. I love getting a response to that. Thank you. So thank you once again for joining all of us. The commissioner sends his regrets for not being able to join us tonight. He's been very busy being the chair, which is exciting for us here in the East Mountains, getting to see our leadership on the commission coming from here in the East Mountains. So again, thank you for joining us. We love our East Mountains, a region rich in diverse cultures, climates, and breathtaking geography, as we all know. Unfortunately, we are facing a great risk with wildfires as they're becoming more frequent and more intense. And we're here tonight to equip you with information and resources you need to stay safe. As good stewards of this land, wildfire preparedness is a shared responsibility we must all take seriously. It's not just the responsibility of our agencies, it is all of our responsibilities together. By staying informed, maintaining defensible space around our homes, and supporting community fire prevention efforts, we help protect the beauty and resilience of this unique place we all love to call home. By planning, we can also ensure a faster, safer response when time is of the essence. On behalf of Commissioner Olivas, I again want to thank you each for being here tonight. Your commitment to learning more about wildfire preparedness is the first step in making our community safe. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, as always, to Commissioner and his team for their unwavering support of everything public safety. I do really quickly want to recognize my Deputy Chief, Zach Lardy, who's in the back room there, if you'd raise your hand just to get recognized. I also want to recognize our team from Bernalillo County, who is live streaming this for us. If you raise your hands there, team, you see them. This is a great deal for us to be able to get this thing live streamed and recorded for future usage. So. All right, with that, let me see. This agenda has changed just slightly, and speaking of agendas, I do want to recognize Kristen for putting all of this together. Raise your hand, Kristen. She is a true rock star in the world of PIO, public affairs, such stuff. So at this point, I want to turn the microphone over to our wildland coordinator, Josh Scrondel, who is going to run you through kind of what the fire department is doing in preparation for this particular wildland season. And then we will continue on with the program. If we can hold questions kind of more towards the end, we'll have a time for some good Q&A if we don't get your questions answered through one of the multiple presentations that we have before you this evening. So with that, I'd like Lieutenant Scrondel to come on up and do his presentation for us.
Thanks, Chief. Well, as stated, my name is Josh Scrondal. I'm the lieutenant with Bernalillo County Fire and Rescue. I'm also your wildland coordinator here with Bernalillo County. We're going to talk a little bit about prepping your home for wildfire and some defensible space stuff, and there's a few different topics we'll cover. So as you all probably know, we cover the North Valley, the South Valley, and the East Mountains. We are your 911 response. We're obviously open 24/7, 365. We have approximately 20 to 25 firefighters, wildland certified firefighters, at any given time out here in the East Mountains, ready to respond to any of your emergencies. We work with partnering agencies here in the county to deliver these fire services. Obviously, we can't do it all alone. We work with AFR, we work with Torrance County, we work with Santa Fe County, with Sandoval County, all of these partnering agencies with the Forest Service, obviously. We know that we have a lot of land out here, and that 25 people goes really quick. We have 3 brush trucks in this region, and we have 3 water tenders, which are big water hauling apparatus. It's just not enough equipment, so we have to mutual aid with all of these partners. So we work with them, and we train and prepare for wildfire with them as well. As far as mitigation goes, we work with all of these partnering agencies. We work with New Mexico State Forestry. They're kind of the coordinators of all of the mitigation efforts here in the East Mountains. We need one entity, right, kind of coordinating everything. We also have the Forest Service. They coordinate all of their efforts as well, and in conjunction with State Forestry. We have Kirtland Air Force Base. We know they're over by, on the backside of the mountain. Kirtland Air Force Base obviously bumps right into our community. So we work with them. We do some prescribed fire stuff with them and work on mitigation. Obviously, Ciudad Soil and Water. If you've gone to some of these meetings, you've seen Ricky Reedy present, and they do a lot of the homeowner mitigations and have a program spun up there as well. And then obviously the East Mountain Wildfire Protection Agency, some of those volunteer organizations we work closely with. There's Team Rubicon that we work with, just a lot of those, and then we put on these types of presentations in conjunction with them as well. So we're going to jump into what we can do for our home and some fire mitigation. So what we're going to talk about is home ignition zones. And what we want to do is reduce the fuels around our homes, right? We want to create a buffer around our homes so that we get less fire if there is a fire around. One thing that is very interesting that not a lot of people know is that when we have wildfire, it's not necessarily that the fire front comes and takes away, hits your home, hits it hard and takes away your home. 70% of the time, it's from embers. It's from the little ember wash, these little tiny firebrands, if you will. They come and they can, as you can see, they can travel over a mile in some circumstances, depending on conditions and weather and all of that. And those little firebrands, they travel that mile and they come in and they find little places, little penetrations, old wood, whatever it may be, and they embed themselves in there and then start a small fire and then start larger fires. So when we talk about this and we start talking about the fire prevention for your home and hardening your home, let's really think about those little tiny firebrands instead of like the big fire coming in and hitting your home. Remember, 70% of the home ignitions are from wildfire brands. And obviously keeping the vegetation excessive in between the homes and around your home just reduces our response. It draws more resources in, and it's more difficult for us to fight the fire, increasing life safety issues and our response in total. So what can we do about this? We can do what's called hardening your home. We're going to break this out. Excuse me. We're going to break this into zones. The first zone is home hardening, which is where we actually look at your home and see those penetrations that I'm talking about. Think of those firebrands and see where they would come and seep in, and then we would remove those. So a good thing if you have like old trim around windows or doors, painting that stuff, maintaining that stuff is super important because once again, those little firebrands can get in there and start fires. Obviously, construction materials. We like to see, the stucco siding, not wood siding, not cedar shank roofs, things like that, right? If we can change those building materials, I know cost is a lot right now, but if we can change some of those building materials to be more fire resistant, that's going to give your biggest bang for your buck. A lot of the defensible space programs are somewhat pivoting to home hardening programs, kind of because of that factor that I gave you, that 70% of homes kind of get taken from the firebrand. So home hardening is the most important. Sometimes it's the easiest and most affordable when you do the small things, and you get the biggest bang for your buck. So one thing is sealing. When we talk about the penetrations, we also talk about the eaves and your eave vents. If you go home tonight, go look at your eave vents. And make sure that you have screens, fine mesh screens on there for when the firebrand comes and it hits, hopefully it just drops right off. When I talk about maintaining your wood, what we're wanting, the point of that is that firebrands would come, hit the maintained wood, and then just bounce off instead of old cracked wood and it embedding itself in there. So that's what we're talking about, and that's zone 0 is your actual home. So then we go to zone 1, which is almost two subzones. So it's 0 to 5 feet around your home. So if you look at this top picture there, you have rock and concrete. That's what we want to see. We don't want to see any vegetation 5 feet away from your home. And that's so that obviously the grass fire, the brush fire doesn't creep up and impact your home, and there's no flame impingement on there. So getting everything to bare soil or just rock or landscaping like that, 5 feet away from your home, just like this picture, is very important. Then we go in from there, we go 5 to 30 feet. And there that's where you would put your yuccas and your kind of herbaceous vegetation, just like that, real moist, the vegetation that has a lot of moisture, and then that's really short. We can put that within that 30-foot zone. That's what we want to see. Moving out from that, then we go into zone 2, which is 30 to 100 feet, right? So then here we want to create vegetation groups, and really what we want to do is remove ladder fuels. What ladder fuels are is, if you see that top picture there, you see the red arrow? All of the fuels from 6 feet and down on that tree are removed. A lot of times what we're doing when you're going to trim up your trees, what you want to think about is kind of like the term like lollipopping, right? You want your tree to kind of look like a lollipop. Nothing, no ladder fuels or no vegetation within 6 feet of the ground. And when I say ladder fuels, what we're talking about is a surface fire coming and then starting brush, the pinon juniper on fire, and then getting into the crowns or the canopy of the trees. That's what we're trying to avoid. So reducing those ladder fuels is very, very helpful, and that's what we want to do 30 to 100 feet around our homes. And then if we can't get all of that, because it's a big job, then we want to try to create vegetation islands so that there's little fire breaks in your property, if that makes sense. Have little fire breaks all throughout. And then the biggest thing is just reducing those ladder fuels, as I described. Going out to zone 3, some people don't even have this much property, right? But some do. So if you have a few acres, you might get into this zone. So that's 100 to 200 feet. We like to see 10-foot tree spacing, and we like to, once again, remove the ladder fuels and create vegetation. It's kind of the same note, create vegetation islands. And that's how we break it out into zones. If some of that's a little bit confusing to you, and you want somebody to come in and take a look and help out, Bernalillo County, well, we'll go and take a look and kind of assess. What we do here at the fire department is we take defensible space walkthroughs. What happens is you'll email me, email's best, and then I'll put you on a schedule, and then we can go to your home and we can take a walk around it, do a couple laps. We can talk about your property, the things that you're kind of concerned about, and then also the things that you're having trouble with, or any large concerns that you have. We can give you resources for mitigation, fuel mitigation, and all of that as well. So once again, I have my cards in the back, and email's best for me. I can put you on the schedule if you'd like. Also, we have the Green Waste Voucher Program that's spinning up, and it looks like it's here now. So that's great to see. And you saw some of you came in and signed for the vouchers. That's awesome. I'm happy to see that. I know this says that it's coming, but it's in fruition, which is great. What we also have is the free Green Waste Days, and the Green Waste Days are going on right now. They end Sunday for this spring season. It's 2 weeks in the spring and then 2 weeks in the fall. So the Green Waste Days, where you take your green waste to the transfer station, ends Sunday. Other than that, now you can get a voucher throughout the year instead of just the 2 weeks in the spring and the 2 weeks in the fall. So that's great. And then what do we do when we have all of this stuff? We've prepped our home, we've taken the vegetation around, we've made the islands, we've removed the ladder fuels, we have all this vegetation, we take it to the transfer station, we have those programs set. Well, what we also can do here in Bernalillo County is we have open burning guidelines, and we have open burning regulations. Some of them are listed here. I mean, the large ones are, we want to burn dry natural vegetation. So with that, we wouldn't want to cut our trees and remove our ladder fuels this spring and burn them right away. What we want to do is wait till the fall, right? Until the conditions are are acceptable for burning. So it's only dry vegetation, obviously smoke impact, firebrands, that type of thing is what we're thinking about. So let that stuff dry, and then we can do open burning, 50 feet away from any structure, 3 foot in diameter, 2 feet high. Winds must be under 15 miles an hour, and you must call the burn line every time that you burn. You don't necessarily need, if you stay within these guidelines, you don't necessarily need a burn permit, but you need to call the burn line, and the burn line will tell you every day whether it's a burn day or not a burn day. And once again, I have some more materials on that. We'll talk about it here in a second. So this one, structure triage. So this is just kind of, I wanted to throw this in here to tell you what the firefighters look at. These are kind of the things that we look at. So there's a fire in your neighborhood. We go in there, life safety is first, right? If we need to do any evacuations, any of that stuff. And then after that, we start looking at savable property, right? So everybody's wondering about the homes and what do firefighters look at? This is kind of what we look at. And it really matters on if you've done the work to your property or not, on where you fall kind of in this spectrum. So there's stuff like the defensible space standalone, right? You have to have good, we drive up there, we look at it, we assess it. Do you have good defensible space? Are your building materials fire resistant? If it doesn't need any work and you did an awesome job, then we don't need to commit resources there, and we can move on and commit resources elsewhere, and makes everything safer, and we can remember your property and go on after. Defensible prep and hold there. Once again, it's good defensible space. Building materials are fire resistant. It needs minimal work. Like what we would do for this is, when I say minimal work, maybe we grab some of the stuff off of your porch that's on there that you weren't able to get to, pull that off. If we can cut a little fire line around it, we'll do that. Removing firewood, we can remove the firewood, things like that. Just really quick prep of your home. And then if you've done all that work and there's a good safety zone for us, one thing that we can also do is if conditions are right, we have the possibility, because you've done all of that work, of pushing that fire around your home possibly. Then we go into like the non-defensible homes, right? The moderate defensible space, the building materials are mostly fire resistant, but not all. There's a lot of work to be done. If we have enough time, we'll do it. It depends on the conditions and what we see and what's going on. But if it's not safe for us to be there, then we will prep as much as we can and we'll leave. And once again, that's dependent on what we see when we drive up to your home and the work that you've done for your home. Then this last one is non-defensible, right? Rescue drive-by. This could be a couple scenarios. One, there's little defensible space. The building materials are flammable, so you didn't do the thinning, you didn't lollipop your trees, all that stuff. The building materials, you have cedar shank roofs, whatever it may be. We can't commit resources to something like that. It's just too difficult to defend. We have to defend and save savable property. What we will do on some of these is once the fire front passes, we'll go back in and save what we can and see what we can do from there. So it's very important to do all of these mitigation steps that we're talking about beforehand, before we even get there for the fire. Everybody's interested in home insurance. Obviously, that's a big topic recently, especially with the fires out in California and everything. The thing that I can say is if you guys are having trouble, or you know a neighbor that is having trouble getting home insurance, or they get dropped, specifically if they get dropped by their carrier because of the wildfire risk, please shoot me an email, let me know. What I'm doing with that information is we're gathering it, we're sending it up to the state, to state forestry. They're gathering it, they're seeing when, where, and why this is happening. And we probably can't help you in the moment, but we can possibly spin up some programs in the future to try to address some of these things. But first, we got to get the data. So if you hear anybody in those situations, shoot us an email so that we can gather some of that data and help you out in the future. All right, and then with that, I think just talk real quick about some of those materials that I mentioned. We have our community risk reduction pamphlets. Once again, on the back there, it's the green pamphlet. It has open burning regulations on the back. Follow the open burning regulations. Don't burn on red flags. Obviously, all that stuff is on there. It also has information on defensible space. And there's a home hazard assessment QR. And then also on our, there you'll see a red sheet back there with a QR code. If you guys will do that, what it'll do is you QR it, you use your phone, QR it, and then it'll take you as a walk around your home. It'll ask you some questions, ask you, what your building materials are, what difficulties you're having, and one of those questions are what difficulties are you having. We're gathering all that information. Where that information goes is it's shared between Albuquerque Fire and Bernalillo County. And then once we see patterns like, this certain neighborhood is having these certain issues, then maybe we can spin up programs to address some of those. That's the idea of that QR code. It's in its infancy, but we're trying we need more data. We need you to help out and then do some of these things, and it'll take you a walk around through your property. The Ready, Set, Go pamphlets back there, they're the booklets. They talk about the preparedness, defensible space, go bags, evacuation's really good one. Make sure that you get one of those. And even if you already have them and you attend these meetings and you go to the MWIPA meetings, still grab another one, give them to a neighbor. Same thing with the Living with Fire. What this one is really good for is those specifications that we talked about in those zones. It breaks it down to those zones, gives you more specifications, tree spacing, all of that, what you want your shrubs at, and that'll give you more information there. Besides that, I think that's all I have, and my card is back there as well, and you can shoot me an email. All right.
All right, let's see. Does anyone have any questions that pertain to what Lieutenant Scrondle just covered? I know that was a lot of information, but good stuff.
Phil Jerry, live in Harris. We live in a log cabin home. And we just moved back here recently, and we're trying to create like fire breaks and everything around our home. I know that you can't endorse any product per se, but I've heard that there are products that you can put like on a wood home to reduce the possibility. I know we're never going to make a wood house fire-proof, but if we can do a little bit to make it resistant, any information that you can offer without endorsing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's just really going back to that maintaining the wood. I know that there's products on the market. I haven't really looked into them. I haven't seen a whole lot of presentations. I don't have a lot of information on specific products for you, but really what I would say is just it's maintaining that wood and wood fillers and things like that to make sure that those small fire brands just bounce off as best they could.
Great.
All right?
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, in the back there. I think they're looking for a microphone.
Defensible space.
Oh, we're gonna make you mic.
With regards, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's more for, I think, the live feed.
Okay. With regards to the categories of defensible space, what is the protocol for those of us that have security gates? I mean, are you just going to drive by? Most people out here, we have electric or solar gates that block our property.
We can get in.
All right.
So on that note, I would say, though, if you do have a personal security gate, I would encourage you to reach out to 798-7000 and let our non-emergency dispatch line know the passcode to your gate. So in the event of an emergency, whether it be medical or law enforcement related, when we get that address, it automatically shoots that code to us so that we don't have to be delayed by trying to get into your gate. We can get in it, but it's much easier if we just put it in the code than running through it or cutting stuff. So, yeah. So 798-7000, and you just ask them that you'd like to have your address flagged and your gate code entered into the system. So, any other questions to save goats? There you go. Yes, sir. Here comes a mic. 1 second.
So what if we have our area defense, we have the defense built up around our property, and our neighbor has 25 dead pinon trees? What can we do about that?
So we get this question a lot, right? Is the neighbors? I've been talking to zoning recently. There are zoning guidelines. Where you can go is the Bernalillo County website. Go to zoning. It has what we have is an ordinance against weeds, and it does talk about if you have so many acres, fire breaks and all that. So go to that, learn a little bit about that zoning, and there's also on there a complaint form, and you can fill out the complaint form anonymously as well. So zoning, Bernalillo County has all of that information. You can figure all that out that way.
All right, anything else before we move on to our next topic? Great, well, I want to thank Lieutenant Scrondle for all of his knowledge. I think it's great information, very simple things to do, and we are here to help you with that. So you're definitely not alone. Make sure that you take advantage of his offer to email and schedule, because it is a good visit to have someone just come by and look at things that maybe you're not seeing as you're looking at your property every day. So as we know, mitigation of any large-scale event or fire is not done just by fire and rescue. There are a multitude of partners that play a massive role, not only in the actual event itself, but preparing ourselves for it so that it doesn't happen. And one of those partners is emergency management. And tonight we have Tom Walmsley and his amazing team in the house. Tom is going to come up and just chat briefly about evacuation routes and, more importantly, notification. How do you get notified when something's occurring in your area and what you do? So I'm going to turn it over to Tom, who is our Director of Emergency Management, for a few minutes.
Thank you, Chief. I think I've been here about almost close to 10 years, and I remember I started with the county right after the Doghead fire. I actually got my job offer in the middle of that fire while I was working for the state. And to see, the progress that we've made with the outreach is really impressive, and just I thank everyone for being here today. So we'll talk a little bit about how notifications work within the county. We have what we consider a two-part emergency alerting system. They work in unison with each other. Did anyone get an alert maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago stating that the power is going to be shut off? Right? Same system. And we'll talk about public safety power shutoffs a little bit later. That system uses what we consider like an opt-in, and then it uses an emergency alerting component to it. So the opt-in part of it is it's a company that manages this software for us. And so we've got close to 500,000 contacts in the entire county, and that includes house phones, cell phones, and emails. We encourage everyone to sign up for that. Why that's really important is if you're at work and there's an incident at your house, you're going to get that alert. You can sign up as many contacts as you want into that system. We don't sell that information to anyone else. We don't send out, there's a bake sale next Tuesday. It's literally for urgent issues and threats like that. The second piece of the system that we use, which is probably the most likely the alert that you just received, it's called the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System, or IPAWS. This is a federally managed program that we utilize. It's the same type of platform that you might get an Amber Alert on. So if there's an incident in the East Mountains here and we're going to do an evacuation, we're going to draw a big fence or a polygon around that impacted area, and every phone that is physically inside that location is going to get alerted. And if you're not there when it goes out, we'll set a timer. It's usually about 4 hours. So if you drive into that zone, you'll still get the notification. And so going back to that two-part notification, our goal is to contact as many people as we possibly can. So you could be at work getting a notification that there's something at your house, and maybe someone's visiting and isn't in our system. They're going to get that same type of alert. These alerts they do take some time for us to put the information together, so we can get these pushed out relatively quickly. We've got some templates, and I'm going to explain what that process is going to look like for us. So Lieutenant Scrundle mentioned the Ready, Set, Go program, and we've adopted that same program when it comes to our alerting mechanisms. And so we'll use 3 phases of notifications when it comes to wildfire alerts. Again, following that same Ready, Set, Go. So this ready message that will go out, most likely there's a chance this message may never go out because something's moving so quickly. But this is going to be based on there's a fire in the area, based on the recommendations from the fire department and law enforcement. We're not looking to evacuate, but we want to start letting the community know, hey, there's a risk in the area. This is a great time to start getting things together. Consider your evacuation routes, and it's okay to leave at that point. Again, start taking those protective actions that you need for your house. The second one is going to be set. And the way that would look is in the next foreseeable future, maybe the next couple hours, we're going to, if the fire progresses as it's planned, we're going to need to call for an evacuation in this area. That message will let you know, start moving things together. And again, it's okay to leave right now, right? That's the goal. Like early and often should be your thought process when it comes to evacuations. And we're not going to say, no, stay back in your home. It's okay if you want to leave. The second piece of that, or the final phase of that, is going to be a go. And at that point, we're telling you, or our message to you, it is time to leave. We'll put directions of travel, the primary routes. And again, we know that a lot of the areas up here may have limited access, one way in, one way out. And so our goal is to have that alert messaging go out as soon as possible to give you as much time. But we've seen some of the weather and the winds and how fast stuff can move. So again, like when you receive that notice, as soon as you can and safely get out of that, we want you to do. There's always been this question between voluntary and mandatory evacuations. And I'll let Lieutenant Zamora speak a little bit more when it's his turn, but I can tell you a mandatory evacuation, like the sheriff needs a warrant to remove you from your home, right? So we use this terminology here now, ready, set, go. And we want that to, again, we're using it on the preparedness side, and we're going to start using it with our evacuation notices. What that might look like, and Lieutenant Scrundle did point out, maybe I should do a little bit better with my mapping, because we might want to evacuate the southern part of this too. But this was just an example of what this would look like, especially when an incident spins up, right? If there's a fire down in that southern part of there, we may put that area immediately around it in that go status. Like you'll receive a notice, hey, it is time to go right now. And then based on the weather modeling, the forecasting, we may move that next area up into a set, knowing that if conditions get worse, if we don't make progress, they don't make progress, there's a good chance that fire is going to continue to spread. We'll set that next area into a set status. And then, again, further north into that ready. These can be constantly changing. We're working right now pretty actively on moving this information into a public-facing site. We've got it probably at about 90%. And so when these alerts go out, it's actually going to direct you to this platform so you can see exactly where are the evacuation routes, what are the evacuation zones, where do we go, right? Is it going to be a community center, a faith-based organization? Where are those evacuation rally points? What are the shelters, the statuses of those? So that's hopefully coming in like the next week or so. We've worked pretty hard over the last couple of months to get this live. So then we're notifying you of these evacuations. What are some of the things that we need to do with it? Again, like it mentioned earlier, a lot of it comes down to personal preparedness. So having that communications plan, if you're at work and your partner's at home, who's doing what? How are we talking to each other? Where are we going to go for sheltering? We will open up shelters during evacuations. You're not required to sleep there. I can tell you it's going to be on a green cot with a wool blanket. And so again, having some of those contingency plans of, is there someone else that I could stay with? We will open up those shelters, as many as we possibly need. What are we going to do with our pets and our service animals? And so again, if a notice comes out, like a ready status or a set status, that's the time to try and chase the cat down, get the dog into the crate or however long that might take. You know that better than we do. And then starting to get some of those things together for a disaster preparedness kit. What are we looking for things like that in there? Again, access to water. I don't want to talk too much on our P&M side, but knowing that if the power's out and we don't have access to water, so having a 5-gallon jugs of water, having extra gallons of water throughout the house, always a good idea. Perishable food, the NOAA hand crank radios. Cell phones are great for notifications, but cell phones have batteries, and eventually those will die. And so thinking about those alternate means of notification, when we push out those emergency alerts, they also go through that NOAA radio system. They'll come across the TV. They'll come out all sorts of different ways. Again, a couple other items in there, first aid kits. A thing that came up recently is, ensuring if you're on an electric vehicle that vehicle's charged. If, you come home and you're sitting like me on 7 miles till empty, making sure that that tank is topped off, or at least maybe setting that threshold of when I get to a half tank refill, especially in this time of year, and honestly throughout the winter. Some of the other considerations, having extra medicine, and again, that's not always reasonable for somebody, but having that in a common place that I can quickly grab that bag of pills, or I know where everything is. Prescriptions, eyeglasses, things like that, that if I have to leave quickly, right, that kind of travel kit. I always like to say my wife's really good. She's got her travel supplies and then her regular home supplies. And when I travel, I throw all of that into one bag. So thinking about that and that mentality. A thing that really stands out is a lot of the documentation that comes along with that. And so knowing where those are and whether that's kept in a fireproof safe or kept in a place that's readily accessible, the family records, birth certificates, wills, deeds, social security cards, knowing where those are, and again, always thinking about that is a safe, secure backup place online where you can go back and gather that information if necessary. So that's all I have. I don't know if we want to stand for questions or.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions for Tom as it relates to notifications? So my advice is when you see green, you go. That helps us out a lot. It becomes a bit of an issue when people hold out to that very last minute in that red. And even worse, when we can't do anything for you. Because as Tom didn't necessarily say it as straight up as he could, but if you decide to stay, that's on you. We are not going to jeopardize the safety of our men and women to go in and save you if you made the choice knowingly to stay in danger's way. So again, I would encourage folks, once you see that green, go if you can go. It'll help everybody that's involved in the incident. So, yep, and there are plenty of flyers in the back room with the Everbridge stuff and Tom's information, so please make sure you see our folks in the back there. So again, as we kind of continue through the process of events, the next portion that we look at is what role law enforcement plays in something such as this, both pre and as the event is unfolding. And we've got Lieutenant Zamora here to present that part on behalf of Sheriff John Allen.
Hello, everybody. My name's Ryan. I'm the Lieutenant over Special Operations. I'm covering for your Captain of the East Area Command, Matt Rael. He had a family matter he had to attend to, so he couldn't be here tonight. So I think the overarching theme for all of this is preparedness. So I'm going to recap some of what Lieutenant Scrondell said, some of what Tom said, and I hope I said your last name right, as close as I could. So preparedness is key. And for us in particular, if you're not prepared to leave when we come knocking on your door, it's going to slow everybody down the road down. So having the bag ready to go that Tom talked about, having your property ready that the Lieutenant talked about, those are all very important things. So I'm going to go over the do's real quick when we do get to the evacuation point. So really for our role, we're talking about worst case scenario. You have a home that's on fire next to you, or you have a fire that's already started somewhere in your area, and they've sent our patrol folks out to knock on your door and say, hey, if you want to leave, now's the time to leave. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. But when we are knocking on your door, what we're hoping from you, and what would help us a lot, is making sure that you do have that bag prepped already, that you're already familiar with your area. So when we're knocking on the door, it's not the time to say, hey, I always go down this road this way. Is there another way out this way? We will tell you, don't go this way because there's a fire that direction, or it's not safe, or we already have fire trucks there. But it's not the time to ask us, well, when I go the other way, which way do I go? It just slows us down in the process, and the deputies will be familiar with the area. It's just not the right time. So what you can do to help us is be familiar with your area. If we say don't go left, know how to get out going right. Have a plan in mind for where you're going to go when you do leave. And what I mean by that is it would slow us down even more if you stopped on the side of the road when you see deputies, when you see fire trucks arriving and you see us coming, and you stop to say, hey, where should I go? I'm not too sure where to go. Have that plan in mind. You'll start getting some of those alerts. It takes a little while to stand up the notifications that Tom talked about. But have that plan in mind. I'm going to head into town, I'm going to head the other direction, and I'm just going to sit and wait for a bit until the news starts catching up with what's going on. It's a good idea, and you should lock your doors. If it ends up being a very long-term evacuation, deputies will be driving around as they can when it's safe to with fire to make sure there hasn't been break-ins and make sure that we're deterring those. But when you leave, make sure that you're locking that door. Another good thing for you to be able to do to help us out is if you do have a neighbor that you know is hard of hearing, you have a neighbor that struggles getting up and down the stairs or just to the front door, when we're knocking, just let us know, hey, John across the street is a little slow, give him a little bit more time. And that just lets us know. We're not gonna knock and nobody answers and turn around and leave, but just let us know so we can spend a little bit more time there at the door. So what you can expect from us is those knocks on the doors, we're gonna be closing those roads and making sure that nobody's running over any of the apparatus that fire's laying out. I went over all of the do's. Let me just make sure that I didn't miss any of the don'ts here. So don't stop to ask fire and police unless you absolutely have to. That's what we're there for. If you have your own personal emergency, of course, stop. If you can avoid it, please do. And just make sure you know your roadway in and out other than the normal area that you go through. I just want to cover the topic that the chief covered there close to the end. You do get that one opportunity. We're not going to force you. We'll give you as much information right there at the door as we can. This is where the fire is. This is where it's headed. This is how bad it looks. But you get that one opportunity to evacuate. We won't force you. All right? Mine's short, sweet, and simple, Chief, so whatever questions you have for me.
All right, direct and to the point. Any questions for our lieutenant? Yes?
I have a question regarding access.
Oh, hold on, there's a microphone. There you go.
I have a question.
It's just for the live feed. You won't hear it out here.
I have a question regarding access. If there's a ready set notification and we have, and say, for example, I work in Albuquerque at UNM, and there are restrictions with the road, and we have like an elderly parent that we have to get out, what's the protocol for like something like that? What would happen in that situation?
So when we encounter somebody that can't get out or maybe can't get down the stairs, would they be able to answer the door at least to let us know they're there, or would you have to call into us?
No, they would be able to answer the door and whatnot, but like if I tried left UNM to go get my mom out, and then there's there's restrictions to go in at the canyon or something, what would we do in that situation?
We'll get anybody who can't leave their property, we'll get them to a safe place to be able to be picked up. So we'll take that role for you until we can get them to somewhere we'll let you into. Okay?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How would the contact process work? Like, would that be like a, would we call like a main line for that? Or how would we know where our person is at?
So the same phone number that you can call is that non-emergency dispatch, and that's for both fire and for us, and that's that 505-798-7000. Yeah. Okay? No problem.
And the reason we say that number is they can actually relay the message to every unit that's in that area. If we're looking for a particular person or trying to reunite a particular group, we can get word through super quick by just activating that phone number. I saw another hand go up somewhere. Oh,
Yes,
we're gonna
sir.
get in the dark here.
Question.
Oh, I have a big mouth.
No, it's
If I
good.
need a microphone, that's fine. We are on 337 South, going down toward Manzano and Chilili and, all that. So going south, we can go that way, but if we went back north and then we tried to get to like 217 to go out to like 333, if things are blocked, is that a notification that we would get ahead of time if we were down in town in Albuquerque? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem. So as far as the notification for the exit route, that would come much later, and I would imagine that that does have some form of telling you, go this direction on these streets. For us, as we're knocking on your door, we're gonna tell you exactly where you shouldn't go. Does that make sense?
Exactly, okay.
Cool. Does that answer your question?
It's important to know where not to as
Right.
where to.
Yep.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, any other questions for law enforcement? Okay, let me make sure I'm following my script here. So next up, I believe we have, is it Forestry is gonna do a presentation, right? Our agenda changed just slightly, so I wanna make sure. So is Brad, right? All right, so we're gonna have Brad up here from Forestry to give some more information and kind of hit home on some of the stuff that we've talked about. And then we'll close out and wrap up here with our new partners to the scene, being P&M.
Hey, good evening. Brad Towson. I'm with the Forest Service over here at the Sandia Ranger District. I'm the fire management officer. Been there for almost 20 years now. So just want to give you some updates. I know there's probably been some questions on the federal workforce. We currently have our full staffing for the year. We do have 2 Type 6 engines that are local. You probably hear them as brush trucks. And we do have some out-of-area resources that have come down from Idaho to assist us right now. We do have a helicopter in place that's right over here and at their helibase. They're staffing right now with 10 personnel, so total personnel that we have on our district is roughly around 25 people. I have myself and 2 other fire management officers there locally that serve as duty officers that are aware of what's going on around the other agencies and within the zone, the Albuquerque zone. Right now, our current conditions, I'm sure you've seen the drought conditions right now. We're sitting at an extreme drought for the year. You can probably go outside and see that and feel that within the air. And so we've elevated our fire danger to high just recently within the week. And right now, looking at potential fire outlook for the month of May, the Rio Grande Valley looks to have a significant fire potential. And over on the East Mountains, we're not quite there just yet, but getting into June, it looks like we'll probably be in that status then. Anticipated monsoons, from what I understand, is still sometime around July. Potentially around July 7th is usually when they start showing up. But again, with that anticipated moisture comes lightning, so we're going to be prepared for that if anything does happen. The other thing too is we are having conversations daily on the conditions out there on our landscape. And that may introduce conversations on restrictions, stage 1, 2, and 3. When that happens, we'll make that notification to the public. That way everyone is aware on our website, and you can go ahead and take a look at that at the Seaville National Forest website. As far as moving out past the fire season, we have started work on preparing our prescribed fires areas for this coming fall when we do implement any sort of prescribed fire work. We do have some projects down off of near Raven Road and Morris Court, if you're familiar with the David Canyon area, and we've been having an ongoing project there for multiple years now. And then Sulphur and Cienega Canyon area right off the 536 road. We do have some pile projects out there that we may implement once we receive enough moisture in the fall season and in the winter. And then around Cedro, kind of around the Cedro Lookout area, 462 Road, we do have another pile project out there that we're going to look at implementing this fall as well. I'll be around after this meeting. If any of you have any questions that I can't answer in front of the group, feel free to come up and talk to me right after. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, any questions for our partners on the forestry side? Yep.
Do you guys ever consider, we live up on 536, going up to the ski area, we're just below like Sulphur Canyon. Do you guys ever consider closing, I know you don't like to close the picnic areas and everything, but we go up there sometimes hiking and people have fires going and, they're grilling and doing things and not always putting them out correctly. Do you guys ever consider, with the fire danger getting worse, to close the picnic areas?
Well, right now, they shouldn't be in those areas because those particular areas are actually closed right now. So if you do see somebody who is back there, if you could report that. We do consider those type of closures when we do a forest-wide closure. We don't typically close any sort of picnic or campground areas just to isolate them. What we do is increase our patrols. The more people report these type of incidents, the more we can increase the time out there spent and patrolling in those areas. So please report it if you do see things like that.
All right, any other questions for forestry? Okay, so we're in the home front here. We're going to invite our partners up from PNM, and those of you in the room are sure have gotten familiar with the public safety power shutoffs. And so we want to make sure that everyone really truly understands the rationale behind that and what is expected of us as citizens should things come to having to shut the power down. And PNM has had to do that now once in Las Vegas, and it was successful. So there has been a case of it, so it can be done, and it can be done well. So we will let PNM kind of speak to you all about what that means to you as East Mountain residents. So invite you both up to say a few words.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. My name is Shannon Jackson, and I work at PNM in our Crisis Management and Resilience team. Deandra will introduce herself here shortly. And what we're going to go over is public safety power shutoffs. It should not be unfamiliar to anyone in this room. If it is, we will go over that. And if it's something that you are aware of, perhaps we'll answer some of your questions here today. Some of the things that we're going to go over includes wildfire mitigation, prevention, what a public safety power shutoff is, what are some of the indicators that we are looking at PNM before a possible public safety power shutoff takes place. We will talk about impact areas, what the process is, and our customer engagement. So I'll turn it over to Deandra to start.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Deandra Lopez. I am the local government community coordinator for the greater Albuquerque area, which includes the East Mountains and Bernalillo County. Shannon already went over what we're going to talk about today. So going with our fire mitigation plan, I do want to emphasize a public safety power shutoff is a last resort. We do not want to shut off the power. We've built our business on keeping power on. So it is a last resort. We do year-round vegetation management, which is something that we're gearing up. And on-the-ground situational awareness, those kind of tie in together. Recently, we started doing pole inspections where we're going and looking at every single one of our poles, our equipment, looking to see what needs to be upgraded, what needs to be fixed, and what around our power lines needs to be, in our right-of-ways needs to be cleared. Hardening of our electric system, again, that goes hand in hand with that. We're looking to see what we can do to improve. Obviously, we've been around for a while. It ages. We're working on getting it better. Seasonal and situational protective setting adjustments. So what that is when it is, now we're in the windy season, and when we get a red flag warning, we look at adjusting our system settings so that typically how it works is if something comes, or if a line, there's a fault or something, the system tries to clear it. And so it will continue to try to re-energize to clear that out. When it is a high fire or red flag day, we'll adjust that. And so if there is something that it detects, anything touching the line, hurting the line, the power will just turn off until it gets repaired. So that way we don't have a downline trying to re-energize, trying to spark. That's what that prevents. And then, again, ongoing collaboration with emergency managers and first responders. We talked with Tom, Director Walmsley, quite a bit, and our deputy county manager, our first responders, to try to keep everybody communicated. And then, again, as a last resort, then we would implement a public safety power shutoff. So I will turn it back over to Shannon.
I don't go off of presentations very well. So a public safety power shutoff is really a preemptive measure that we use when severe weather is ahead, right? There's a lot of things that we look at, a lot of things that we determine, but what we don't want to happen is our electric infrastructure to become a source or a spark that would start a wildfire, right? So what I like to say is that while it can be frustrating when power could potentially be turned off for 24, 48 hours, PNM's not doing a public safety power shutoff to you. We are doing it for you, okay? Some of the information that we look at for weather, we are looking at not just red flags, warnings. We are looking at forecasts from the National Weather Service. We're looking at wind speeds. We're looking at wind gusts. We are looking at red flag warnings. We're looking at ground fuels. We're looking at ground fuel moisture. And then, of course, we are monitoring real-time weather stations. So if all of those stars align, like Deandra said, a PSPS or a public safety power shutoff is a very last resort. We're in the business of keeping power on, not turning it off. But if the severe weather calls for that situation, we will, for you, right? Some more information. Let's see. Oh, I guess I could use this. So public safety power shutoffs is relatively new to electric utilities all across the country. And electric utilities, just like P&M, are being asked to come up with a PSPS plan. As you know, the California electric utilities are utilizing it a lot more. We want to avoid a Palisades situation. And so while electric utilities, while it's new to most of us and it's unnatural for us to work on how to turn off power, it's something that we are actively doing. Here's some examples of some of the other utilities that we work with very closely for how we come up with our plans. So public safety power shutoffs aren't pre-identified for everywhere in the P&M service area. There are very specific areas that are in a high-risk fire area, and those areas include Clayton, Santa Fe, parts of Santa Fe, Las Vegas, Sandia Mountains, Mount Taylor, Fort Sumner, Silver City, and Ruidoso, which is why we are here to talk to you all today. I'll loosely go over, I won't follow this exactly, but the public safety power shutoff process, like Deandra said, we work very closely with the emergency managers and local governments. We don't always have time on our side. We don't always have time on our side for several reasons, mostly because weather's unpredictable and it changes very, very fast, right? And so oftentimes even 2 days before when we are expecting that potential severe weather event to occur, that's when we're starting those conversations with Tom and other local governments, right? We're saying, hey, this is a possibility. Where it becomes frustrating, perhaps for you, or a high pressure point for you all, is a lot of the conversations are gonna be, it might happen. And we might pull it back at the very last second. Because again, even if we communicated to you that, hey, for example, the power is gonna be shut off starting at 12 o'clock this Friday, for example, if it comes at 11:55 a.m. where the weather turns and to be more favorable, we're not gonna turn it off. But you still need to plan as if we are, right? So that would be my ask of you, is that when you get those notifications from Bernalillo County to start to look at, you know, moving or like evacuating or whatever you may have to do, follow those, because I'd rather you be safe than sorry. The other thing to be prepared for is, say you do get to the point of where we do de-energize power, where power is shut off in your area. Be prepared to have that off potentially 24 to 48 hours. We do not think it would take that long, and we do restore in batches. Before it gets to the point of de-energizing, we look at reducing that impact area as much as we can. So at first it might come out and you'll see this impact area map that's a lot bigger. But again, we're trying to minimize impact while keeping the community safe. So we're trying to look how we can work within our power grid to reduce the impact area, but still keep everyone safe, right? But when it does get to that time to turn off power, plan for 24 to 48 hours, because we do have to inspect our lines mile by mile, bit by bit, sometimes by foot, by drone, by helicopter, before we can turn it back on. Because the last thing that we want is that there's a branch or a trampoline or something that is in our power lines, and we go to re-energize, and then we start a fire. We don't want to do that, right? So be prepared for after the storm passes, it's now a nice day, why isn't my power back on? That's why. We have to do those safety inspections. You want to talk a little bit about LifeWatch and customer engagement?
Thank you, Shannon. So as part of our engagement efforts, we do encourage you guys update your contact information with on pnm.com with your PNM account, or just call our customer service line and make sure that everything's current. Sign up for outage alerts. There's instructions up there. You can text 78766, follow the instructions. Also follow us on Facebook. We keep Our Facebook team, our comms team, they keep our social media and our Facebook updated during this in real time. So you will get information and accurately that way. And for anybody that depends on electrical for medical equipment, I encourage you guys to sign up for our Life Watch. And with that, it will also let you add a secondary contact if you have a caregiver or somebody that you rely on to help you. They can also get the same alerts. When we're giving out those alerts, people that are on Life Watch, they won't get a robocall or a text alert. They will have a real person call them to discuss with them what their options are. And yeah, also, and then as far as engagement as well, we're doing things like this, coming to these events. This is my second time in this location in 2 months. And so just to continue to try to give you guys as much awareness as we can. Thank you.
All right, thank you, PNM, for being here. Any questions for our PNM partners? Yep, okay, we got a microphone coming around, first one. Come on up here.
Yeah, my question is, we're not with PNM, we're with New Mexico Central. Do they follow the same plan that you guys have? Same notices and all that stuff?
I'm not aware if they do or not. I would reach out to them, but yeah.
Just real quick.
Yep.
Ma'am, ladies, thank you very much for the information. In terms of PNM's programs going forward
For infrastructure, are you looking at going underground with some lines, or are you still going to stay, surface with new poles, stations, transfer stations, stuff like that?
It's a question we are asked often. In a perfect world, they would be underground, but that's incredibly costly. And I don't. Yeah, and aside from it being a cost for PNM, it ultimately will be for the customers too. And so we have to be very mindful of cost and looking at the upgrades that we currently either have or will soon have on our system. But it is a frequent request, and we do that when we can. Yeah.
All right, any further questions? We have one back here. Nope, okay, right here, up front. You're on.
Right there.
There you go.
So I guess kind of two parts, but coming back to one part. Approximately 4 years ago, we had an individual, proper identification, seemed like, come to the gate and say, he's with you all contracting to inspect the poles for trees, et cetera, et cetera. Haven't seen anybody. Last October, we had a fire courtesy the great winds, and I don't blame the neighbor necessarily, but a huge 40-foot pine tree went down, took your lines with it, and it continued to arc. There's other things in there that I won't bring up right now in front of everybody, but my big question would be, is there some sort of plan, and it sounds like a little bit, to go through and take care of the vegetation, like 40-foot trees near your lines, or is there a best number, to call? Because I don't want to do it. Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. Yes, there is the plan of, continued inspections and hardening of our system. You see something that's in the lines and you see like that. If it's down, of course, call us right away, our customer service number. But again, you can also call our customer service number if you see a tree in the lines and it's not arcing, to let them know that this is a hazard, and that way we can get the report and the order in to get that cleared.
And you can just grab that number off your bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've used it a lot.
Okay.
All right, any more questions for PNM? How about any other questions that maybe have come up since our other presenters have been on the podium before you? Anything that we can answer before we close out this evening? All right, well, that being said, I do want to thank you all again one more time for taking time to be with us this evening. There is a ton of information on that table in the back there, so I encourage you to do that. We will all stick around too to answer any questions. Again, special thank you to Commissioner Olivas for allowing us into the district to make this happen, and all of our partners. Thank you all very, very much.